Podcasts are hot right now. How do I know? Well, you're listening to one right now, aren't you? But you might be wondering, how on earth do I get my voice out there and start my own podcast? It all seems so intimidating. Between hosting and platforms and monetization, it can get real complicated real quick. Well, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. We started this podcast over 2 years ago, not knowing clue one on how to do it. So how do we do it? We did it with Anchor. Anchor is the free podcast app with creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. And Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on all the platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. And everybody likes money, right? Well, you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So go right now, download the free Anchor app, or go to Anchor FM to get started.
It's the e-commerce minute, your daily dose of e-commerce, tech, and retail news with your hosts, Bart, Mroz, and John Suder. The e-commerce minute is a production of SUMO Heavy, a digital commerce consulting firm in Brooklyn, New York, and Philadelphia. Find us on the web at sumoheavy.com.
It's e-commerce minute episode 649.
In today's episode, Alibaba sets up platform for coronavirus medical supplies.
As we reported a few shows ago, the coronavirus continues to affect global trade. Just to recap, a coronavirus is a common virus that causes an infection in your nose, sinuses, or upper throat. Most coronaviruses are not dangerous, but this particular case is deadly. The coronavirus also just happened to hit during the Lunar New Year holiday, which is one of China's busiest shopping periods. After returning from a long holiday for the first time since the coronavirus threat became clear, Chinese investors sent shares in China down about 8%. Then stock markets around the world had plunged as the realization that a public health crisis could morph into an economic shock. Now, as global companies try to pick up the pieces by donating and offering other ways to help, the Chinese e-commerce platform Alibaba is stepping up. Alibaba Group has set up a special platform featuring global medical supplies to help fight the coronavirus. The new Alibaba Global Direct Sourcing Platform is a business-to-business information bridge that matches medical suppliers and their products with affected hospitals and authorities. Alibaba will post the specifications of needed medical supplies, including types, models, and quantities of products based on information collected from hospitals and local authorities. Suppliers can also provide information about the products they offer. Once the supplier is verified and the goods are certified as an acceptable match, Alibaba will begin the procurement process. Goods bought through the platform will then be routed to hospitals based on the level of urgency. Industry partners will handle expediting the shipping, handling customs clearance, and delivery. To cover the purchases, Alibaba will utilize a $142.8 million fund established 2 days after the city of Wuhan, the epicenter of the outbreak, was quarantined. Meanwhile, Alibaba's founder, Jack Ma, will commit $14.4 million through his own foundation, designating $5.8 million for 2 Chinese government research organizations working on a vaccine. Here in America, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation pledged to give $100 million to, quote, strengthen detection, isolation, and treatment efforts, protect at-risk populations, and develop vaccines, treatments, and diagnosis, end quote. We'll update you with any further breaking coronavirus information. Getting crazy out there.
Yeah, this is happening.
That's happening.
It just, honestly keeps getting more interesting. This morning, I came across headlines that said that a huge study that they recently did found that the virus is actually more deadly in men. That's this morning. And Liu Ximing, the hospital director in Wuhan, actually died from the coronavirus, the director of the hospital there.
And she was the director of the hospital.
Insane, yeah.
So there's a lot of things to pick apart here. I think one of the things, the problem is you're dealing with the Chinese government, which is known for not exactly being upfront 100% of the time. So there could have been some things happening behind the scenes that we don't even know about that will come to light later. But what I will say is that China, once they see something happening, they move fast to try to lock things down. They, like we reported in our last podcast, they built that hospital within 2 weeks. They basically have Wuhan closed down. You've seen the videos where they're spraying the streets. I mean, they really are trying to keep this contained. The problem is that people are people. If you tell people not to move and stay put, what are they going to try to do? They're going to try to,
move around.
Like the one lady I said in the last podcast, she took a bunch of meds and got on and when they measured her temperature before in the airport, she didn't show any symptoms because she took a bunch of medicine, then flew to France and went to a bunch of restaurants and ate at Michelin star restaurants and came home and bragged about it because people are people. People suck sometimes. The other thing is, once you're talking about things like this, being an outbreak or some kind of natural disaster, who's going to be the first ones to pop out of the woodwork? It's the people who are going to try to profit off of misery and sadness and whatever.
Yep.
I think Alibaba, at least, is trying to do a good job of tamping that down. And I know that there were some people on Amazon that were trying to sell masks at a greatly increased profit. That was kind of tamped down. That being said, I like what Alibaba is doing here. At least they're utilizing and trying to match, because there are still suppliers that have this stuff. And if the people who need it don't know exactly where to go because of just where they're located or just supply logistics, at least they're making some sort of effort to connect needs through suppliers without the sadistic markup that comes with these type of things.
Yeah.
The markup is just like truly inhumane.
Well, that's like the people, like the what do you call the people, the survivalists? They're always selling the food buckets. Yeah. They live for times like this.
Yeah.
That's where they make their buck. They're not,
it's really peculiar.
It's like the preppers. They live for the end times, and they want to sell you a food bucket.
The tinfoil hat.
Tinfoil hat, a food bucket.
Yeah, it says
okay then.
here that as of the beginning of February, Alibaba delivered medical supplies from 15 countries and then donated those goods to 18 hospitals in different provinces around China.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that is very cool.
But as we said, the profiteers looking to resell masks, because that's really the basic supply that everyone is looking for, the masks to kind of keep the containment.
Right.
Taibo warns sellers that they were not allowed to increase prices. In November, a pack of 20 3M masks sold for 178 yuan, but on Tuesdays, sellers were charging up to 1,100 yuan for the same item. That's a big no-no, and that's bad karma.
Ooh. And it's like, how would you even regulate that, Like, you just can't.
Yeah, it's hard.
You can, but...
I mean, you can't. I mean, the other thing is, like, people are trying, there's a whole talk about, it's also dangerous to quarantine and close off a city because they don't know how to cure it and get in there.
Right.
So that's partially, like who's right on this one?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, do you let the people run unfettered, or do you keep them quarantined? And then what happens to the quarantined citizens? They just they infect each other until, I don't know. I mean, it's frightening. I do not want to see this kind of cross over to here. That's for sure. Yeah. I know we had those people stuck on the cruise ship, and there are cases in America, but they're isolated and being contained. But this is not a happy story here.
Mm-mm.
And it says here in the Wall Street Journal, the coronavirus now surpasses SARS in both the number of confirmed cases and fatalities. So what's going to happen? You're going to see the Asian stock market on a roller coaster for a little bit. That'll roll over into the American stock market once supply chain starts getting disrupted.
It already is.
I mean, it already is.
Apple is they're lowering their guidance.
Yeah. So Apple's lowering their guidance. I'm sure you're going to see other tech manufacturers going to have to do that. And I think on a smaller scale, when it relates to e-commerce, you're going to have these sellers on Amazon that rely on the cheap goods from overseas. Their supply chain is going to be disrupted. And two things are going to happen. Either they're going to just be like, nope, can't get it anymore, or we got it, but it's going to cost you a premium. Mm-hmm. So there's going to be a ripple effect. I think the ones that will be affected first will be the Amazon sellers or the people who are doing their drop shipping that make a living. They get the little Shopify drop shipping store. They suddenly can't get their goods because the workers can't get to the factories. That will have a ripple effect that ain't going to be good. All right, we'll close out this happy story with stat time. Economists have estimated the outbreak could drag China's growth rate down 2% this quarter, which would result in $62 billion in lost growth. That's according to CNN. Travel bans stemming from the outbreak would end up costing the U.S. economy $10.3 billion with a B in lost tourism dollars. And finally, during the H1N1 flu pandemic in 2009 and 2010, Malaysian rubber glove makers saw a surge in orders of about 10 to 15%. Mr. Dennis Lowe, who works for glove maker Supermax, said the increase could be higher this time if the coronavirus continues to spread. We'll keep an eye out on this one. This is it's kind of like, breaking news. I mean, you can tune back next week and we can have a completely different story about this. But if we have anything that's newsworthy to report, and as it relates to e-commerce and tech, we will definitely check back. You guys got anything else?
I almost forgot about the swine flu. That was a big one.
It's so good. It made you forget about the swine flu.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Remember her?
SARS. Remember the good old days? SARS.
Oh God. H1N1.
It's a dangerous, infectious world out there. And I'm just going to leave you with one piece of advice. Wash your hands, people.
True.
Wash your hands.
Always wash your hands.
All right. I'm going to go wash my hands. And that's your e-commerce minute for today. We'll see you on the internet tomorrow.
That's it for today's show. If you like the show, do us a favor and subscribe or leave us a review on iTunes. And don't forget, you can now listen to the e-commerce minute on your Amazon device. Just add e-commerce minute to your flash briefing. And finally, if you have a comment or suggestion or just want to say hi, find us on social media at SUMO Heavy.